All right. I think we're live. Yes, it is the one and only. I forgot my own name, and I have with me Snake from the France, and Lewis is Lewis. He will be here. He is how do I say this? He's playing Football Manager, so he'll be with us really soon. I'll leave it at that. So Snake, Liquid Snake, how are you doing, my man? Are you Liquid Snake from Metal Gear? Are you the same guy, or are you different people? By the way, people, how's the stream going? Is it good? Is it bad? I need people to tell me in the chat how the stream is functioning.
Let me go to YouTube so I can read the comments as well.
Yeah. Apparently, I just texted, even though, as you can see, my hand was not on the keyboard, and I still managed to text. I'm a magician, or someone is in control of my account. Probably the latter. Is it working properly? I'm asking Lewis. So is the stream good? Can you hear us? Hello, Snake. Say something.
Hello.
Snake.
Good or bad? Sounds bad.
Snake. I never played Metal Gear, by the way.
Me neither.
Have you?
No.
Then how do you know so much about it?
There you go. I am president now.
Okay.
I have joined.
Was it working? How was your Football Manager game? Were you having fun?
It was like a little bit laggy, and now I don't know. I think we'll see if there's a significant quality change. Then I guess we'll just have to think.
Where's your camera? Why can we not see? Why is my face the only face here?
I explained this. I actually left my camera at home, but I'm gonna ask my parents to mail it to me kindly.
Wow, you're a freaking retard. Anyway, I know I'm a handsome model, so you guys seeing my face.
Let's share
you go freaky, but Snake is shy. He's a terrorist. He's shy. He can't show his face. He's being hunted by the French government. I'm in Madagascar. I'm untouchable, and Lewis forgot his camera. So the same crew as last time. We're here to kick off from where we left off, even though we have no idea where we left off. We just talked about stuff. I think we can start with the obvious, which we talked about last episode, which is the Hagia Sophia.
It's going to be a Hagia Sophia stream.
Yes. I don't plan this on being a Hagia Sophia stream because we already talked about it. Whatever we needed to say, we said it in the last episode. I just wanted to add, which I didn't mention, but I wanted to add, I think, because if you know the area, there are two big mosques now. The Hagia Sophia became a mosque, which, it's not a mosque, but it's a mosque. And there's the Blue Mosque, which we also refer to as Sultan Ahmet Cami. It's the Sultan Ahmet Mosque, Blue Mosque, whatever you want to call it. So now you have two really big mosques in the same area, and it wasn't as if the Blue Mosque was filled to the brim with people. So either both of these mosques are going to be empty, or one of them is going to be completely empty, even when there's namaz going on. So I think that's kind of funny, like, considering that. I mean, maybe both are going to, maybe I'm just coping, maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel like that might happen. And if that happens, if I was a Muslim, I would be like, I will feel happy, but then, like, wait a second, no one is visiting these places, but everyone's so up in arms, but no one actually cares. And I think this just showcases that, fundamentally speaking, this whole decision making was pragmatic, it's political, it's not religious, and it's atheistic. That's what I think. So anything you guys want to add about Hagia Sophia? As I said, we talked about it last stream, so we don't need to dwell on it too much.
It was obviously just a political statement.
Yeah, it's just a political flex. I think it goes against many tenets of Islam, and now they have to install this. They cannot remove the mosaics because they would have the international community against them.
I hope.
But I think they want to install like curtains, like a whole system of automatic curtains, and there's just a big political flex that's.
They're gonna close the icons with something, and they're gonna open it again after their prayers are done. That's better than them being destroyed. But I think that's kind of a live action cope. I mean, you're in the Christian church. You're covering up the icons. You can't even destroy them. I will not feel happy if I was a Muslim. I would definitely. It's like imagine going to a mosque like that's converted to a church, and then there's like I don't know something distinctly Islamic in that mosque that you haven't removed, but you're covering it up, and you're like letting it on again after you're done with it. I will feel bad a little bit. I will start wondering, what's the point here? But anything else we can talk about? Real important stuff like video games, maybe. Man, look at this.
I know that video games are like your favorite thing to talk about.
Look at this. Look at this anime racist.
Oui, I am the snake, the Frenchman.
Let me try to make a French accent. Oui, I'm the snake, the Frenchman.
I've got an accent probably, but like I could speak with the accent like that, like the real French accent.
Yeah. David, if you are Turkish, where are your bow and horse? First of all, I'm Turkish only in name, so I'm a Tino. I'm a Tino, whatever you want to call me. Turkish in name only. My bow and arrow, I don't have a bow, but I did used to ride a horse, but I wasn't good at it, which I think is the best proof that I'm not Turkish. If I was Turkish, it will be like second nature to me. So nah, frick turkey. Next Thanksgiving, I'm eating chicken. Same. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving because I'm not American. None of us are.
I wish I could celebrate Thanksgiving. I have some Canadian families, so sometimes you get to celebrate Thanksgiving, or I do anyway. It's like really cozy, nice food, just a holiday.
It's funny because you hear about Thanksgiving all the time, and I'm here listening to. I'm like, wow, cool. And then you have stuff like Halloween, and I'm hearing about all of this stuff, but I never experienced it really. I never experienced like a Halloween night, which I'm happy because it looks like a pretty boring concept. But Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff, it just showcases that America is the only country that matters really at this stage. I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you like America or not, I think you kind of have to admit that it's the only country that matters. Because look at me, I don't have any connection to America. I mean, I do have now, but 5 years ago I would have no connection to America. Yet I will hear all about Thanksgiving, Halloween, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of weird. I think most people have noticed it, so I'm not this is nothing new, but just the food for thought. I came for some screaming about what? We can scream. Maybe we can do karaoke screaming.
Monkey noise.
We celebrated Thanksgiving when I was a Baptist in Romania. What? Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
That's true, yeah, because basically all the Protestant missions in Eastern Europe are American funded and impetus based, so literally CIA psyops that they send to Eastern Orthodox countries with Protestant missionaries. So yeah, that's not surprising whatsoever.
They like to call us ethnic churches, but the kind of stuff you'll see in some Baptist congregations, it's full America flags and both to the president.
And these women be covering their heads. These women be Muslims, yo. Is what American Baptists think about head coverings and stuff. Yo, these guys got them prayers in them buildings. Romea came for screaming about Hagia Sophia. Yeah.
We should do a Hagia Sophia stream on Shahada. If you guys are
You
up for
should.
that.
Maybe you can do like a history of the Hagia Sophia. That will get a lot of views because
Yeah.
people know that it's a serious thing, but people don't know why it's serious and the history behind it. And wasn't it in the Hagia Sophia where the Pope Leo excommunicated the
Boy, it was Cardinal
um,
Humbert, but yeah,
Yeah, Cardinal
Cardinal
yeah.
Humbert. Yeah.
true
Wasn't
Cardinal
it the
Humbert,
Hagia
which he was,
Sophia
by the way,
that-
he was dead at the time, the Pope, but that's a different story. But yeah, that's also something to mention. I mean, an excommunication went there.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We've seen a lot of people who became Hagia Sophia experts over the last week, and it's very interesting. We've seen a lot of e-crusaders that explains that this church that was built by Saint Justinian, which is someone the Catholic Church hates. They have some books that call him like a monophysite tyrant. You know, they literally
Calling
claim
who monophysite tyrant? Saint Justinian?
Saint Justinian. Yeah, there's stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like he's called like tyrannical because he's strong under Pope Vigilius, and you have all the crusaders claiming like, oh, we should get this church, and yeah, like it's been built by someone you cannot consider
Well-
to be Catholic. It's been like destroyed and raped during the Fourth Crusade.
Well,
and stuff
no
like
offense to anyone, but my political ideology is based on oppressing. So the more you oppress people, the more I support you. So that's why I like Saint Justinian. I'm only half joking, but Alchemistry asks, and I guess this is an important question because I don't know the answer to this. Is it true that Saint Paisios highly praised Patriarch Bartholomew? I presume. I've seen schismatics denying his sainthood on that basis. Well, first of all, who cares what those idiots think? But I've seen an idiotic schismatic on Facebook say Paisios is dead wrong in his prophecies, and he's like counter signaling against him. And I'm not like a big prophecy guy, but he was like basically shit talking Saint Paisios. And then the same day, and this happened today, the same day I see a video from the genuine Orthodox YouTube channel. There's like 10 of them. So you don't like, but one of those channels made a video based on his prophecies and they promoted Saint Paisios. So that I thought that was pretty funny. Like, yeah, like these fake Orthodox attacking Saint Paisios. Then the other ones are like, oh, look at his prophecies. We're gonna have crisis. World's gonna end. So you guys didn't know anything about lasers and Mark of the Beast and all that kind of stuff? Like, anyone know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I think Saint Paisios. I think he predicted that Bartholomew would become patriarch, and that also raises another question, which is our saints. Because if you look at something that's very interesting, the church is often described as the church of the saints. We look at the consensus of the saints for dogma, and the very, very interesting thing is that we have no ecumenistic saints. Paisios compared ecumenism to mixing like copper with pure gold. And even these schismatic groups, they will try to claim people like this. They will try to claim Father Seraphim Rose, even though Seraphim Rose was only rechristmated, and he said a lot of harsh stuff against these people. So that's something that's very interesting. Since we are the Church of the Saints, it seems that the saints so far have the consensus on ecumenism.
I mean, I don't even like. I heard that Saint Paisios was pretty critical of Bartholomew and stuff. Like, not in his person, but he was talking. I thought I heard him talking about kind of like the decline of the See of Constantinople or something like that in the future as well. But one thing that really triggers me is when people post saint quotes on Facebook and they just attribute it to a saint and they don't even put a primary source. Like, that really like for us who are in apologetics, it's like if you see someone do, like I said to someone, oh, demons can't repent, and then they're like, oh, you're wrong about that, and they post this whole story about Abba Desert Father X, who like somehow like prayed for this demon to like repent, and then the demon like transformed into an angel or something like that. And I like try to look up the source for this thing, and I just get all these
Doesn't
like
exist.
universalist blogs, all these universalist blogs coming up, and I like, can I have a primary source for that? Like that's the thing, is if someone posts a quote and you are just like, you have an X to doubt moment, even actually if there isn't an X to doubt moment, you should actually demand people post their primary sources, because
Yeah.
putting words on the lips of saints like that is it's malpractice, and it's the kind of stuff that Roman Catholics get away with all the time with their apologetics. And that's the first thing you do when you start dealing with papal quote mines, is you just say, can I have a primary source for that, please? And if they can't provide one, then you just discard. It's that easy. I mean, you could just make up anything, literally, and put.
Or they quote Patrologia.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
isn't bad wholesale, but I mean,
PG isn't so, but they can't. 99% of the time we say this Ubi is that they can't actually read the Greek, so they're actually retrieving it from some secondary source.
Yeah.
In which case, tell me what is the secondary source that you're retrieving that quote from? Because unless you can translate from Greek, which I doubt you can, yeah. But I mean, that's what annoys me, is I see all these quotes from saints on Facebook, and it's like, oh, saint said this, and Saint Paisios said this, and I'm just like, where did he say this? Show me a primary source.
And there's a lot of stuff like floating around, a lot of prophecies floating around of Saint Paisios, and since a lot of it is, or it was orally taught, we don't really know where it comes from. It's hard to literally do like a chain of transmission. Some of them are unreliable. People use it however they want, and it's the same for some saint quotes. I remember someone once posted like quote mines, and couldn't even back it up with any secondary sources, and it came from a book that had a quote mine in it that mentions another book which mentioned a third book which had the actual quote, and it was impossible to find. And when we managed to find it, it's like literally someone saying, in the first book, well, actually, this is a false quote.
Yeah, it's, first of all, I never really liked the just overall saint quote posting people. I always thought that was a very cheap way to, make yourself feel likable on the internet. I don't think a lot of people take those quotes really seriously, and I think a big problem with that is that recently. people will like post like generic Orthodox quotes about love or whatever. But the problem with that is, especially, if you're a pre-sub gang like me who founded the gang, one thing you start to realize is that when you look at terms like love, they are theory-laden terms. They depend on how you view the world. So when people look at those terms, they insert their own commentary in it, and what happens is that with a lot of these people, they get the completely wrong idea about what saints talk about love, for example. And this is just one of the examples. There's very many different examples of this, and that's primarily why I do not like those saint quotes at all, because it actually doesn't really say anything. It really only tells you what you see, but it doesn't tell you what the saint says. And I think that's a huge issue. And I think it kind of pushes people to basically say, "Oh, I don't need to read saint quotes. I don't need to read saint or church father books. I can just read their quotes online." And it has become this like silly little industry, and I'm really bothered by it. Honestly, I think that's kind of like it's really bad. I don't like it. Like
sometimes I'll come across a saint quote that convicts me in the moment about something. Like one I really liked was this one by supposedly. I mean, it may or may not be, but again, because there's no slight primary source. But it was supposedly by Saint Ambrose of Optina, and he said that you have to force yourself to pray because the kingdom of God is taken by force. And I thought that was quite cool. But I don't know. He may not have said that, but I think it's at least a good sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes,
If it's
especially for
short,
the
well,
older
first of all,
stuff.
if it's short and easy to read, I like that because I don't want to spend effort reading a mega quote.
Yeah, but that's a problem, especially like, okay, today we can have saints who can give you like something that's very snappy and wasn't translated 6 times over, and that you need to double check with manuscripts. But like for the older church fathers, sometimes you cannot just summarize what they're thinking about in one quote. For example, today's this feast of Saint Peter and Saint Paul, and there's a famous sermon by Augustine, and people will take snippets of this sermon because he highly praises divine Apostle Peter, which is true, and try to insert their presupposition on this thing. But the same sermon says that the rock is a confession, that the sheep needs to be tended by all the apostles, by all apostles of the keys, and he goes to great length. And I think that it would be dishonest to just pick for example the very Orthodox passages, or to just pick the very Catholic passages and imprint your presupposition on them. You need to take the text as a whole, and then you'll see that it is Orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dishonest.
So apparently the laser prophecy. Can anyone red pill me on the laser prophecy? I've never heard of it.
I don't know. Again, like I don't know about any of these.
Like the minarets are gonna become lasers and they go up the sky and like destroy planets. Like
it's gonna be like a laser show, like it's gonna be like strobe lights, like they'll turn
boom,
into strobe lights.
Thoughts on Kanye West running for prez? He's a meme guy. It's funny, but
IDGAF.
Yeah, IDGAF. But I do want to say that the fact that people actually unironically want him really says a lot. I think really says a lot about what's happening in the United States.
We live in a society.
But not in a Christian society. That's another quote from we don't live in a Christian society, we live in a society. I haven't seen the source for that quote.
That's a good point. It's a meme quote, but yeah, it's true. There's no source for it either.
I feel like there's an Orthodox guy who's like, I should make a we live in a society quote attributed to Father Seraphim, and people
I feel
ate
dirty,
it up,
dude. I feel disgusting. Like I physically feel uncomfortable in my own skin if I quote something and don't put a primary source at the end. Like these people the people who make these things need to spend more time in apologetics, then they'll know.
Or I don't know. People who are marked will attract the race. Oh, I'm sorry, but actually go on. Yeah.
Yeah, about Kanye. Funnily enough, he's a meme candidate, and of course, if you want to vote seriously and if you take your country seriously, which you might maybe not want to as an American, but from a Christian standpoint, he's got the best the best program.
That's actually true. That's actually true.
So he's right,
Yeah, I'm not saying waste your vote. I'm just saying and ironically, if he had these chances, he would be the better candidate.
If the party platforms, if you compare the party platforms, not that they're actually gonna happen, but if you compare the party platforms, Kanye's are the best ones. Yeah, that's 100% true. It is literally the most Christian one. That's the funniest thing. That's good. Yeah. People who are marked will attract the rays of the sun and suffer
hang
such
on.
harm.
I was trying to say something.
So this is the laser thing, yeah?
I was trying to say something. I saw some interesting take about Kanye online. That's apparently he wants to surround himself with the experts, the people who know what they're talking about to help him pick do policy decisions and stuff, which I think is really personally. I mean, unless I hear otherwise, seems kind of wise to me. And then someone responded saying, yeah, but it would be awful to have a president who doesn't have those decision-making knowledge and at all. And then someone just responded back saying, you mean you think our presidents have that knowledge? Like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Do you think any leader had that extreme knowledge? I don't believe that. I mean, really few of them
We were
have.
saying
Really few of them have.
during the Corona crisis, it was quite funny because, like, our prime minister wouldn't stop saying, like, okay, like, we're in the dark, we need to wait for the science to tell us like what to do. So yeah, I mean, it's cool, like, yeah, Kanye president.
Yeah, why
Didn't
not?
Saint Paisios prophesize a war between Greece and Turkey? First of all, to my knowledge, he never said Greece will enter the war. He said Greece will be defending himself. But I don't know why you're hoping for a war. Sounds kind of strange. I mean,
I said that
Unless-
because you live in Turkey.
yeah, but when the recent, I mean, I've looked at the video again. To my knowledge, that is an actual prophecy he made, but I was gonna say something about it, but I think when you have like, first of all, we don't want to be like Roman Catholics and be Fatima worshippers kind of guys, like sticking to like just one prophecy and like basing our entire faith around it. I don't think that makes any sense. I want to add as well that I think in regards to prophecies, I don't think prophecies are like, when a prophecy is made, I don't think that means that event is predestined. I think that just means that if things go the way they go, this is what's going to happen, kind of a deal, kind of a look into the future if things don't change and if things remain the same. That's what I think. So, is it the case with all prophecies? No, but I think with the case of this prophecy, I think that is the case. I don't know. Maybe I'm making stuff up. Maybe I'm lying, or maybe I'm just stupid. What do you guys think? It's kind of that's why I don't take it mega seriously. I mean, and also I think it's a tragedy that Saint Paisios has many things to say, and he's been associated with a prophecy that he made when there's so many other things that arguably that is good about what he said. His spiritual counsels, for example, are amazing.
Yeah, and something about like this geopolitical prophecy, not to downplay anything of what Saint Paisios said, but I mean, you can maybe see it coming. Like, Turkey has been a country that did not maintain many strong political allies, strong military allies, except for the US and NATO, which also includes Greece. And it's countries that has not proven to be very stable in terms of ethnicity, in terms of its nation building, because it's a very young nation. So, in a sense, we could see it coming, like, regardless of Saint Paisios'
I
prophecy.
was gonna say something, but I forgot. Luis, do you have anything to add? Luis?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Hey, Luis.
I don't have anything to add. I genuinely don't. Like, I'm not that. I mean, sometimes I think, oh, it would be cool if this stuff happened, but then it's like kind of suck because it's war and war's not great. So I don't know. I just don't think about it much. What will be will be.
Yeah, I also want to say, like, imagine you're trying to do apologetics against the Turk, and then you like say, "Oh, by the way, we have a saint who prophesied that your country will be destroyed and like 1/3 of your population will die."
It's actually even more cringe than like when it might, like, do you know that feeling you get when you have a Roman Catholic telling you about how Russia needs to get converted to the Immaculate Heart and like all the errors of like imagine that, but like 20 times more cringe, and that's probably what
this
it feels
is that
like.
Yeah, I will like, doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, like, really, and with Turks, you give them an inch, they take a mile. The moment, like, if they find this out, which I don't think they do know this, or I don't think they take this seriously, But if Turkish media finds this prophecy out, they're gonna like use it to say Christian civilization hates us, and they're gonna justify even more bad stuff. Like they justified, for example, not that it means that we shouldn't, but they were like, oh, they turned our mosques into churches. Well, those mosques were churches in the first place, first of all. So it's really stupid. But like, I'm just showcasing that they had that kind of mindset, and yeah, I mean, it's so strange. Like, and there's probably someone that did say this to a Turk who actually really wants to convert.
David Wood made a funny point in his most recent video on the Hagia Sophia. He was like, all three of Islam's holiest cities and sites were just like stolen. Like,
Mhm.
like the Kaaba was just stolen from pagans, and then the Al-Aqsa Mosque was just plonked on top of the Temple Mount where the old Jewish temple was, and now the Jews
Yeah.
can't pray there anymore. And then Hagia Sophia,
Based?
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
like they didn't build it, and what's funny is that they tried to build one that is similar, the Blue Mosque. The Blue
Yeah.
Mosque, and like it was built 1,000 years later, and like technically it's similar, if not lesser. That's funny, It's like
Yeah, it's not as good as the Hagia Sophia, but most of them will point out that, oh, but we renovated it though, we repaired the Hagia Sophia though, so actually you should thank us for keeping it up. That probably say that, so I don't like
You mean
going
because
into
under
the
Islamic Sharia it's illegal to repair our own churches?
yeah, that's true, definitely, but. Hey, I watched the David Wood video. That's definitely the case. I mean, the whole thing about Islamic Golden Age. They got their Golden Age from reading Byzantine manuscripts on Plato and Aristotle and all that kind of stuff. That's their Golden Age. And they really like their Golden Age was basically doing what the Greeks did before Christ. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but I feel like that's what happened in history, and everything about the Islamic world seems like you take something and you say it's yours, but it isn't really yours. And I'm not trying to go for the gay Marxist, oh, it's not actually yours. You should give it back. Like I'm not going to engage in that either. But you do have to be honest with yourself and say you really haven't produced anything of value. If you're a Muslim, you haven't really produced something. Everything you produced is from someone else, and some of them try to spin it as something good, which I can respect that more than those who try to deny it. Actually, some people actually spin it to a positive and say, yes, we're militaristic, so what? And I will say I respect that, if you're open, because at least you're honest about it. But many of them aren't like that. I actually respect that point of view, mainly because being militaristic ain't easy. I'll just say that. Like beating people in wars, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. Well, what's very funny is that not only it just takes, but it does not integrate properly. So when you have this Islamic Golden Age, you have all this translation of manuscripts, and when they did this, like they did it like in really retarded ways. Like you will find treatises of ophthalmology mixed in with theology. What does it have to do? You will find the Sufi will go hardcore on Platonism, and the rest of mainland Islam will go into a very very Aristotelian metaphysics. So that's very, very funny. And not only do they not harmonize them well, but they destroy it. For example, look at what people in Syria at the time of St. John of Damascus were. Like, they were quite sophisticated. They understood their thing. For example, Greek fire. Greek fire apparently originates from Syria. So the Byzantine Empire had flamethrowers from this region. And and Islam comes, just eats up Syria, Egypt, some of the richest province of the most advanced empires, Byzantine Empire. It just engulfs the entirety of the Sassanid Empire, the Persian Empire, and just reduces this to rubble. It's based on predation, and that's why in the beginning of Islam they didn't even enter the cities. They set up camps and they took up extortion money, protection money, as jizya.
Mm-hmm. It's pragmatic. I'll give them that. It's pretty pragmatic. The jizya and all that stuff. Lewis, are you there, or are you
Yeah,
listening?
I didn't
a
think you
creep?
wanted me to add. I didn't think you wanted me to add. It's fine.
I don't want to listen to you. You're not allowed to speak your mind in this stream. Only I and Snack talk.
No, I thought Snack. I didn't think there was much more to add on that point. So.
And chat is quiet, so I guess we can end the stream here. Thank you for watching. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything. Nothing's going on really. It's just Hagia Sophia.
We've got like 40 viewers though, and we're getting less questions or points than we did when we started with like 20 viewers.
Isn't it interesting? I haven't seen much of Black Lives Matter these days. Like I haven't seen news of them rioting. Huh?
Is that the bad thing?
Well,
okay.
I was gonna say something, but I don't want a Fed post, so no comment. Yeah.
About Jan Hus, someone has a question. I read Snack's thread on Twitter about Saint Jan Hus, and you found it interesting. Okay, I was basing this tweet on a declaration by the Church of Czechoslovakia, and I was mistaken, and that's why I actually removed it. But there is this idea of baptism by blood, and people were explaining that to an extent we can say that Jan Hus was persecuted and killed for wanting to return to Orthodox practices to an extent, namely communion in both kinds. But yeah, the case was a bit wanky, and it didn't happen. So
did you mean wonky?
Because like there's still some parts of Jan Hus in his confessions that can be considered like neo-Protestant or even Thomistic in some understandings that wouldn't be Orthodox. But in terms of his defense of sacraments, that's interesting. I know that he had, I think there's a disciple of him who went and got baptized as an Orthodox in Lithuania. Like in that case, we can see that there were links, but for Hus himself, there isn't much to say about his orthodoxy. Namely, that he was killed to defend something that we will consider traditional. He was killed at the Council of Constance. But yeah, like he isn't a saint, and there was a declaration that the Czechoslovakian Church wanted to do it, but they ended up not doing it.
Well, there's also the case where there are martyrs that are saints in the church that never communed or were like that they never got to even commune. So Saint Porphyrius the Mimic is one of them. Saint Alexander of Rome, to my knowledge, I don't think they've even baptized, but I'm willing to be corrected on this. So the situation of Saint Jan Hus, let's say, is not that much different, and he was accused of bringing Eastern Orthodox practices into Roman Catholicism. That's what he was accused of. So I think, bearing that in mind, he was canonized by the Czechoslovak Church. And I'm not gonna do this like a baby little, we're in communion with them, but I don't have to accept their saints. I'm not gonna do that. I don't think that makes much sense. So I don't have any problems saying he's a saint unless there is apparently unless it's a lie that he was canonized. To my knowledge, he is in the church because of the Czechoslovak Church. But
I'm not sure. I think
there are similar cases of him.
But even if they did, we could say that it's a baptism by blood, and that yes, he wanted to reintro. So that won't be a big problem.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So
Again, I have nothing to add, so sorry.
yeah, because you have nothing to add because you're not an interesting person like I am.
Just don't. I don't know about the whole Janus thing. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess it kind of cringes me out a bit. So I don't know if
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
He's a saint. I'll
motivation.
accept it, but I mean,
the motivation to canonize him is not a good motivation by the Church, I think. But
yeah, it's just he stood up against the Catholic Church. Like,
but
I mean,
but we're not like Bible Illustrated. We're not gay like him. We're not like we don't denigrate the entire canonization process because we are fat and we think priests having sex is hot. He literally says this. Bible Illustrated says priests having sex is hot. We're not degenerates like that guy, so we don't go that route either. If you've seen his video, which is a trashy, disgusting video.
Yep. Still on the topic of Jan Hus, I want to say that as Orthodox, we actually should like the Council of Constance because Haec Sancta, which was accepted by popes and produced by the Council of Constance, actually literally says that the council is superior to the pope.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
well, they later condemned
That's-
that, so it doesn't work for them anymore. But
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we even thought Florence was a good idea in the first place.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, the Roman Catholic Church goes against its own ecumenical council like 18 years later.
Yeah, but like, don't worry. It's ex cathedra when it's about this matter in Vatican I, but not when it's about the same matters in Constance. It's Schrodinger's ex cathedra.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's an obvious contradiction. It's one of the contradictions I pointed out when I did the Florence stream with Jay. Can you talk more about Fatima? Like what actually happened? Prelest happened. You guys can fill in the details. Snek is a Fatima expert, so he knows about this
Oh
stuff.
no, I've studied law a bit more. Lewis, that's on you.
oh my
Oh,
gosh.
you're not a Fatima? I thought you will be
So
that.
in Fatima, what is it? Fatima, Portugal. There's these three little girls, or these three little. I don't know if I can't remember if they're sisters or if they're cousins. I think they're cousins or something. And they're basically kids. I can't remember how old they are. Very young, probably not even puberty age. The Virgin Mary supposedly appears to them and gives them tells them some stuff, including some kind of secrets, and tells them to say a specific new prayer during the rosary and to make reparation for all the sins of the world, and also Russia will be converted and the Immaculate Heart will prevail, and when the Pope does that, then all of Russia will become Catholic, and basically so that's and then there was this whole I don't know how this actually fits into the narrative, but then there was this dancing sun miracle at some point, which supposedly proves that it was all legit. Huh?
And Paul told us about angels of light. So yeah, that's about it. That's a classic Roman Catholic apparition. So it appears only to children. There's a new devotion. There's a new thing to buy at the souvenir shop. The new rosary. It says the Pope is cool, and it says that no, you need to do whatever is more politically fitting for the Pope, which at the time was invade Russia. Today you're gonna have the same kind of things that say, oh, ecumenism is cool. That's Medjugorje.
Well, an interesting thing that I don't know how much merit there is to it, but the Fatima apparition says that more people go to hell because of sins of the flesh than any other kind of sin. But then I saw someone point out that actually, if you read the Fathers, most of them say that you go to hell for kind of spiritual sins like pride and stuff. Most people go to hell for that reason. So,
Yep. Fatima, what I think about Fatima, since I haven't really explicitly talked about it, it's stupid. It's superstitious. It's no different than what was that blind Bulgarian mystic woman? What was her name? It's no different than her prophecies. Okay, we see all these silly little prophecies, superstitious prophecies, and it doesn't I think if you focus on that, I don't think you're any different than Hindus. You're not different than Muslims. You're not different than Buddhists or any other these silly little religions. Does that mean that we go to the other extreme and like, oh, I guess we're not going to believe anything these people say? No, I don't think we should go for that either. I don't think we go that route either. I'm just saying that there's no point in trying to take these things at face value, because even when we have, let's say, spiritual experiences that happen to us, even we should be even doubtful of that. We should try to confirm it. Now, if we have hearsay in those regards, then we should be even more doubtful than that. The only people I will say that I will blindly trust is obviously my church. So if I was a Roman Catholic, I will say Fatima is true because, I mean, I'm a Roman Catholic and my church endorses Fatima. So I will have to believe in that. Just like that, I believe what my saints say. That's why I also believe in the Paisios, Saint Paisios prophecies and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that we take it to the next level and base a religion based on that.
Fatima is actually more of a thing among trads than it is among like normal lay Catholics, from my experience. Like, I mean,
no, I've seen lay Catholics be Fatima-istic, but trads are definitely known for it.
Yeah, they're way more. It's way more their thing. Like, they can't do a mass without mentioning Fatima in the homily at least once. Like, how often do you hear Pope Francis talking about Fatima? Like,
you don't, but how often do you hear Pope Francis talk about anything Roman Catholic?
That's what I mean. Is that it's not really a thing anymore. Like, it was a thing. It kind of died with Pius XII in terms of like the popes talking about it.
But with Roman Catholicism, you have like different Roman Catholicism depending on the timeline. Like you had the 14th century RC, you had the 12th century RC, you had the 19th century RC. So I guess that makes sense, actually. Yeah. Have I read the article on Human Rights Commission? First of all, human rights don't exist. They do exist, but they don't exist in the form that people say it exists, meaning in the secular form. It just doesn't exist. Or if I may turn my Stirner mode on. Where's my glasses? Oh, which I'll keep my glasses on for the stream so I can look a bit more nerdier. But if I may turn my Stirner glasses on, it's a spook. It doesn't exist. It's a ghost story.
If something called the Human Rights Commission says bad things about us, I guess that's already a win.
Yeah. Human rights. Orthodox civilization is not inclusive. I thought I was being exclusive. I thought that was a good thing, Mr. Human Rights Commission. Obviously, they think it's a bad thing, but can't post links. Really? I thought you could post links here. I don't know. Any significance in big Chungus being ontologically big and not small? He's asking the real questions. What do you guys think? The real questions.
Well, I don't think that if he were small, he will retain chungusness.
Yeah.
I saw a funny meme and it was like WTF medium Chungus, and it was just like a medium Chungus.
Chungus Khan. I'm Chungus Khan, boys.
Yeah, I think that being big.
Someone did a big Chungus lane. Let me find that. Maybe I can screenshot it. Big Chungus lane.
Yeah, like being big is a quality of the Chungus essence.
So he's by essence big.
Yeah. So you could say like Chungus, like big Chungus.
But isn't bigness relative?
You literally can't bring to mind Chungus without bringing to mind bigness at the same time.
But isn't bigness relative in some sense? I mean,
yeah, I suppose.
Like a fat 6-foot woman, she's big, but because compared to other women, I guess. So doesn't that also mean
might
that
have to have
Chunguses?
a set? Yeah, you need to have a set of. You need to have a set
But does
of
that not
Chunguses.
mean? But does that not mean that the different size Chunguses are not consubstantial with each other? Meaning, that the big Chungus cannot procreate with small Chungus.
Yeah, what is the essence of Chungus then? Because if big isn't
It's not
isn't
bigness.
that it can't be it can't be bigness if big is a relative term.
Yeah.
You need some essence of Chungus that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to bring with it bigness. So that means that you would have the door open for medium Chunguses and small Chunguses.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
Bigness presupposes smallness and mediumness.
Yeah, unless you have you
High
could have
IQ.
you could have infinite Chungus, and then you wouldn't need finite Chunguses, Chungai. You wouldn't need finite Chungai.
Okay.
Chungai. That's actually a very good way to describe plural Chungai. Yeah, that's actually very interesting. So, but if bigness is not an essential property of a Chungus, then that means that a big Chungus is really the bigness is an idiomatum, is it not?
Yeah, it would have to be a distinguishing mark of the Chungus.
But even that presupposes the other Chungai.
So big. So there's different hypostases of Chungus. So you have big Chungus, medium Chungus, and small Chungus are three different hypostases with their own idiomata of being big, small, or medium.
Yeah.
All part of the generic kind essence of Chungus, of course.
Yeah. I think we can all agree that
my face when we haven't lost any
Chungai.
viewers talking about Chungus.
No, we actually gained.
Actually gained.
We need to tell Pepflo to clip that one.
When are we setting out a systematic theology of Chungus?
Yeah.
He's right. Let me see. Okay, let's talk about the less serious stuff because this is too serious for us. Father Trenum talks about Fatima. Turns out the girls that had the vision said Russia will return to Orthodoxy. Didn't this vision happen before Russia became communist?
Okay, so a theory that's going on is that it happened.
It was 1917. It happened in 1917, didn't it? Or was that just before the end of World War One?
Yeah, but the thing is, in context, because papal stuff are ad hoc. It's pretty much telling the Irish, the Austro-Hungarian to push forward into Russia because at the time, Austro-Hungary was the champion of Unitism, so that was a way for them to push into Russia, basically.
So were they aware of the revolution, or was this pre-revolution? That's basically what I'm trying to get at.
I think the revolution happened a little bit later, Russia.
No, it started in 1917, so it's the same year. But I'm asking if it's
May 13th.
before the
May 13th.
So it's after the revolution commenced. But so my point here is why I'm asking this question is, wow, you can see my screen from my glasses. Anyways, my point is that if they said that Russia will return to Christianity when it didn't even become Soviet, does that not mean that they're basically saying an already Orthodox nation is going to become Orthodox? What I'm getting at is that this doesn't make any sense. It's inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean that's as you would frame it afterwards.
Yeah.
The thing is, basically, Russia will spread its errors everywhere until the Pope consecrates Russia to the Immaculate Heart, and then
what
Russia.
What does that even mean?
stops.
Consecrates. What does that even mean? I've heard that so many times. But what?
So
What is
basically,
consecrating Russia to an Immaculate Heart?
So there is no set definition of what that really means. But you know, some Catholics think it's already happened. Some Catholics think it's yet to happen.
So they
So
don't
like
they
you
don't
have the
even know
ones
what
that
this means.
So you have this. So you have them that say it happened because I can't remember which pope it was. I think it was Paul VI. He did some kind of like little ceremony, you know, consecrating Russia to the Immaculate Heart or whatever. But then there's the trads who are like, oh, he didn't really properly invoke the Immaculate Heart, or he wasn't physically in Russia when he did it, so it doesn't count.
What?
Or and so you have those debates. Obviously, if you think going back to Orthodoxy was the meaning of the prophecy, then you would say it's happened already. But then if you don't, then obviously it's not happened yet because Russia isn't SSPX. When all of Russia becomes SSPX, then you'll know it's happened basically.
Which, by the way, I mean, you see people say Sacred Heart is an Nestorian. How is this not Nestorian? Literally, consecrating to a heart. And if you're gonna say the heart is, oh, it's just a symbol for love, so you're consecrating something based on love. Okay,
Why would you
but
consecrate something to a creature's love? I mean,
exactly.
I guess we do consecrate our churches to certain saints, but that's not really. I mean, it's not like.
But we don't
know.
consecrate them to saints' hearts. We don't say, oh, we consecrate this church based on this saint's arm. Like, you know how retarded that will be?
Yeah, and then you've got the one who say, "Oh, how can you say it's Nestorian? Because we say the Sacred Heart as both natures, therefore it's not Nestorian." So yeah, like you're splitting something, and then that's Nestorian because that's to worship, and then you got the mix, because you need to mix stuff. So then you got
It's two adorations. It's two worships. Ephesus is against that. Ephesus says that's heresy. It's Nestorianism. So
yeah,
I mean, if they're gonna argue that it's one worship because it refers to Christ ultimately, that doesn't work because Nestorius made the same argument.
yeah.
He also made the same argument. He said
then
the human nature ultimately it refers to Christ. That's who we worship. He's not saying we worship a human person. Nestorius will never say that. Nestorius will say that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
So it's not any different than his position.
Yeah, and what's funny with Sacred Heart is that then you've got all the spin-offs, all the crossovers.
Yeah.
So the Immaculate Heart, so it's a mix between the Immaculate Conception and the Sacred Heart, and then you've got the I think it's the chaste heart of Saint Joseph. So you've got the Holy Family, which was a specific devotion that was introduced by the Roman Catholic Church to promote families, but with hearts. So then you like I can show you stuff from like French devotionals. That's literally 3 hearts floating, being linked together. So the Sacred Heart, the Immaculate Heart, and the chaste heart. And it looks like the Trinity, and it rains down like light into small little hearts.
Wait, are you
human.
saying Joseph is part is part of the Trinity?
It's a holy family of hearts. So they're like displaying hearts.
So
like the
Jesus's heart, Joseph's heart, Mary's heart. Is that the Trinity?
Yeah, like it's like I can show you devotionals that look like this.
Now we're being into more heresy because actually, which is really funny, is that implying that Christ's father is first and foremost Joseph's is actually heretical. That's why you don't have iconography that depicts him as a kind of father, because Christ's father is God the Father. Now, of course, there's more nuance into this, of course, but we're now veering into the territory of even more heresy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's brought forward in ways that wouldn't be acceptable in Orthodoxy, because of course, I'm not saying Catholics say that Trinity is just a bunch of hearts, but the way it is displayed, it's it almost implies that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Just
mean,
the trinity of just these hearts floating around.
Oh, you know,
It's ridiculous.
how is that like? How is that like? I'm not trying to be like a meme Protestant-y guy. Like, how is that not literally paganism? I mean, this is not scriptural, obviously. It's not traditional either. We don't see this in the tradition of the church. We see this in like the 18th century or something. Am I wrong?
Can you show it on screen if I show you? Maybe I'll try to look.
I think you can. I think you can show screen. I think you can.
Yeah, you should have the option to share your screen.
Yeah, change screen on the bottom.
We're halfway through the podcast.
Depends on what a half means. Maybe it might be a quarter. Maybe we're gonna do this for 4 hours. Anyways,
I have work to work.
you have work,
Yeah,
loser.
man. Sunday night. That's what we normally do on Saturdays, but
Yeah. Oh my goodness, though. Before I found Orthodoxy, I went to an SSPX chapel and was in a bunch of trad groups, and you couldn't say anything without hearing or talking about Fatima. I mean, honestly, any Fatima fan, I consider them losers. They're losers. You guys are losers, honestly. So many things that you could be focusing on, and you're focusing on Fatima. Give me a break.
I know our church is going down the toilet, but Fatima said so. It's okay.
Can you share the screen?
Don't you have the option to do so?
No. Like, can you see it?
No.
You need to click share.
Oh yeah. All right. I see what to do.
I can send you a few. I think you could send essays on chat if you want to, and I can check them out. Make it quickly. I'll review the essays based on the website. If it's Return of the Kings, I'll say it's okay. If it's from, I don't know, some like feministic website, I'll say it's dog shit. But I wasn't told the fact. Yeah, it's like a cult at this stage. The many Chungai point to the one Chungus, and the Chungus point to the many Chungai. Oh man, what have you done? That's a good question. What is the Orthodox view of predestination and free will? You guys have anything to say? Because I do have a video where I tackle that.
I don't think it's all that different to the Roman Catholic view.
And what is the Roman Catholic view?
Let me think. Trying to remember now. Something like you can be like God predestines you to different kind of things based on his foreknowledge. So he can like foreknow that you will freely choose to accept his grace. So he'll give you the grace that kind of matches up with the foreknowledge.
Oh yeah, it's also the monism synergism is connected with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I don't think it's per se objectionable. Like, obviously, you have different concepts of grace.
Yeah, Father
grace.
Thomas Hopko has a good response to this. I made a video about like I think 5 theological errors that have societal consequences, something like that. I talk about predestination and free will. There is a Western view. I'm not gonna. I think it's more a Protestantish view where there's this dialectic between predestination and free will. And Father Thomas Hopko kind of reverses that, and he says, actually, God's predestination is based on our free will. So it's not that things are predestined and we just act them out, which is the regular normative predestination deterministic worldview. He basically flips it upside down and says, actually, free will in this hierarchy comes first, predestination comes after us. So we make our decisions, and God knows the decisions that we are going to be making. So he kind of just like, it's a very subtle change, rearrangement of the ordo predestinatio. I guess that's the way that you can say.
That's
I think that's an excellent point.
And that's the same as the Roman Catholic view, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, there's not a huge.
Yeah, I don't know the Roman Catholic view, so
it literally
I don't have
is
any comments.
like God just he foreknows that whether or not you'll freely choose to love him or accept his grace, he'll just give you grace in the measure by which, based on his foreknowledge, of your free will. So like he's not going to get like, so if he knows that you're not going to freely choose him until your death, he's not going to give you all the grace that you would have if you were to accept him to your death. If that makes any sense, like.
Question to you, Snek. Any thoughts on the Orthodox Church of the Gaul and the French Orthodox Church, the non-canonical one, I guess?
Yeah, bad ones. Yeah, it's really a mess. I've had the occasion to talk to people from this church, and basically their gimmick is to say that they are more French than French. They will canonize. They canonize people like Saint Louis. They canonize people like Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
People who have nothing to do with Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
But like more disturbingly, people like Francis of Sales, someone who literally opposed vernacular in liturgy, and then they will complain that there's not enough vernacular in the Orthodox, like the actual Orthodox Church in France liturgy. They're very ecumenistic. They mix a lot of stuff and in between one another. They're in communion, but they don't have the same theology. For example, there's one of these gimmick churches, which is a Coptic church that's in schism from the Copts. Like it's really a big group, and they promote people who are literally the faces of Orthodoxy in France, who have like who publish book about like Christian Kabbalah. Yeah, like really, it's toxic, and if anything, it should be a lesson for many of us concerning Western Rite, because these people, okay, so today it's fringe and they change their course over time, but originally these churches, they come from the churches that were founded by St. John of Shanghai, and they derived because the man that was placed wasn't doing good stuff, and yeah, so that's one of the dangers of the Western Rite, that it needs to be supervised properly, and many errors were committed, and that's why we're here now. Thankfully, many of them moved to actual canonical jurisdiction, like the Romanian church. That's why there are so many Romanian churches in France, but some of them still remain. They're barely Christian at this point. It's all about this gimmick. It's all about this, special liturgy that's actually non-existent. That's a Frankenstein liturgy. So yeah.
Okay.
It's very sad.
Okay. So that should answer your question. Never trust non-canonical groups. They are idiots, and they're not even priests. They're not even bishops. They're people pretending to be priests and bishops. That's what I think about them. And I think it's kind of funny because, many of them, not all of them, right? Because as you said, this specific group is ecumenistic. But there are many non-canonical groups that are anti-ecumenistic. And what I always consider really funny is that if you're like anti-ecumenist, but you're favorable towards these people, they start liking you. Then, isn't that also ecumenistic? You're kind of being buddies with these people. And I've seen a lot of people, it just came up to my mind. I've seen this happen numerous times. Like you see like Trad Docs #1. He's like, oh, I hate Greeks because they're bad, evil. And then there's a Greek old calendars, and like, these guys are base. These old calendars guys are cool. Well, you say you're against ecumenism, and you're promoting a church that's not even a church. It's in schism. How is that not ecumenism? And when you attack these anti-ecumenist people, they don't really seem to understand that either. So I just want to mention that. There's a vetting between Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. What the
Yeah.
Is this true?
I can't show you the pictures, but just type Catholic 3 Hearts, and you will see stuff like Trinity of Hearts, and
I don't even want to type this on Google, man.
The
I
holy
sent
pottery.
it to me on private, so I'll.
It looks like one of those Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know, like the like, doesn't it? Like the 3 hearts. It looks like one of those Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
It does. It does actually. I summon my monster in the attack position. I summon my spell card.
So you need to understand these kind of devotional were especially popular in France, and that's how historically the Jesuits were promoting stuff with little trinkets. For example, today on the rosary, you will have on every rosary you will have the miraculous medal. Then you'll have different kinds of rosaries, and you will have all these sort of trinkets and little cards that you share. And
I need to make this Yu-Gi-Oh card meme now. Sorry, Snake.
well, go ahead.
Just oh man, this is a hold on. Can you share screen, Lewis? Show it to the people.
I
Show it to
can.
them what they're missing.
I can. I just need to make sure I've got nothing doxing on my. Should be all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's literally based on nothing. It's always the same justification. Oh,
what if
you
it
can-
was a Yu-Gi-Oh card? What will it be? Well, like, I think it will be a spell card.
So yeah, man. Like, look at these.
Yeah, this one. You
Yeah,
got
that's the Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yeah, that one.
all the
This-
small ones dancing.
This is the which one?
I know, like the one with the small hearts below, like the heart hypostasis.
The small one below.
Yeah, it's to the left of the one you clicked. Directly to the left.
This one.
To the right. Sorry, to the right.
This one.
Yeah. You see, like there's literally rays of divinity flowing down to the small human hearts.
That is a Yu-Gi-Oh. What will its ability be?
I'm gonna call it like I'm gonna put it on like one of these, and then I'm gonna call it like the three hearts, and then I'm gonna have like some description here or something. NGL, if Catholicism is true, I probably will end up in hell, but
But it's not true, so who cares?
Yeah. I don't know. I can use this black and white one here.
No way is any of this part of the truth. No way at all. Absolutely
and
no
the
way.
justification, it's what Seraphim Rose said. Like the problem is that they want to make a better Christianity. Technically we can do this, so let's go on with it. Technically we can do this, so let's introduce new practices. Technically we can do that, so let's mix it. Like this is alien versus predator. Like they have nothing to do with one another, and they try to mix it, to do crossovers, and yeah.
Thoughts on let's change the topic from Yu-Gi-Oh to thoughts on the Black Jesus debate in liberal Anglicanism. First of all, I don't even think this is only in liberal, it's just liberal overall talking point, but I'll summarize it in short. It's stupid because Christ was a historical person. Trying to make him these different ethnicities removes his personhood from the incarnation, and it doesn't make him universal. So people make that argument. Oh, but it makes him universal. No, it doesn't make him universal. It just means that you can form him into different forms. That's not universal. Okay. And
what makes him universal is his universal human nature.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And if he had become, let's say he was black,
exists in the mode of his person. His human nature exists in the mode of his person. If you change that, then you have a different person. You don't have the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a PragerU moment, and I'm gonna say that actually the one who do this are the real racist, because then it means that a black person couldn't be saved by the universal human nature that Christ took. So if you want Christ to be black, it means that you believe that in terms of your nature, you're different from other human beings.
Yeah.
But I made a whole thread about this, and Louis translated it, but there's a lot of points where it doesn't match. It doesn't match historically. Christ was historical. If you look at the creed, we mentioned Pilate in the creed for a reason, not because we love Pilate. but because we need to fix to have a temporal fixture to say that this happened at this moment in time, and he was incarnated from this specific person with this specific line. Like in the Bible, in the New Testament, the Gospel start with the genealogy of Christ. He's being called the son of David all every time. He's not the son of I don't know who. And yeah, doing this is very, I mean, it's ridiculous. You'll have the Chinese Jesus with the Chinese and this kind of, it even resonates in pop culture to see how far it went. When you have like the fish Jesus saving the fish and rat Jesus saving the rats and weird things like this. That's ridiculous. What's next?
Yeah, I mean, the intention is very clear why they're doing this. It's not for a theological reason. That's just added on. It hasn't ever been there in the beginning. That's not the reason at all in the first place. And I also want to mention, before you go on, I also want to mention, not even Ethiopians do Black Jesus. I mean, some icons have that, but many icons don't in the Ethiopian church. And then, I mean, they're not part of our church. So, but I'm using it as an example that you have a historically Black church, and even they don't do this to the extreme that these people will. And Ethiopians are pretty like, I'll say, nationalistic, and most likely the reason why they even had Black Jesus in the first place is because many of them didn't really even know other people at the time when they made those icons. Is my theory, at least.
Yeah, but I think it's also if it's a globalist plot, or if it comes from a group that hates Christians, that's also a good way to destroy Christ and Christianity, because in doing so, for example, in making him Black or Japanese and stuff like this, obviously the Jesuits used it to proselytize, for cheap proselytization. But some people do it because they hate Christ and they want to say that he's not the Messiah. And what better way to say that Christ is not the Messiah is that not identifying him with the line of David, because that's one of the main rules of the Messiah.
Exactly. So are we gonna depict the Old Testament prophets as Japanese now? Because and also very good point that someone on Twitter made is just an amazing point. If we allow this, then why not allow Jesus to be, and God, I mean, forgive me for even uttering this idea, but why stop there? Why not say, okay, we should depict him as a woman now? So, because he is united to all human beings, that includes women, and they will take it even to the next step and the next step and the next step. And this is not a slippery slope. This is an actual logical.
That's actually a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want something generic, you're gonna have the transgender one as well at some point. So it's not about generic. Like, Christ is incarnated. That's one of our main dogma. Saint John literally says to throw people away if they deny this dogma in the Bible. So he's incarnated in a specific way at a specific moment of time, not as just a generic concept, because that's also denying real death and real resurrection.
Yep.
That's denying salvation for everybody. That's denying salvation, incarnation, and the fact that Christ is a Messiah. There's nothing left.
Exactly. And I think that point about why stop there, I think that's a very it puts it all into perspective and showcase why we can't at all accept this. David, I enjoy your videos, and man, you must have really low standards if you think I'm thoughtful, but thanks for the kind words. I'm not at all close to becoming EO. Trust me, you're closer than you think you are. What do we see in the chat? But they say he wasn't white. It's on the same topic. Yeah, but okay, Roman Catholics depict him as an Aryan
to be
Jesus,
fair, they do depict him as just white, blonde, blue eyes.
Yeah, they do depict him as Aryan Jesus. But first of all, Middle Easterners are not brownies. Okay, they're not all brownies. Many Middle Easterners have white complexion. Okay, some of them have dark complexion, but many of them have white complexion, and they have had that complexion throughout history, especially those times.
Even a lot of North Africans, like North Africans also. You can find some
Saint
like pale
Augustine.
skin. Yeah.
Like, have you seen that? What was it? A blasphemous idiot. This guy like posted a picture of a black man and said, "This is Saint Augustine because he's North African." Yo, he's North African. And these people have no concept of genetics at all. Zero concept of people groups. You look at Levantines, right? Levantine Middle Easterners. They don't look brown. They're not brown. They look like me. They look a lot more like me, and I'm not brown. They look a lot more like, I mean, they don't look like European people. So first of all, that's not even a good argument. But in the case of like, yeah, like there are Roman Catholics that depict them as Aryan Jesus.
Look
So,
at this. Look. North African Berbers.
Yep.
Literally. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't match. And besides,
I see an
royal
Alberto Barbosa there though, and Orthodox iconography depicts him the closest, if you want to go there, the closest than compared to other groups. So, it doesn't attack our church. Basically, it doesn't attack our point.
yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff going on over there.
And unironically, that's racist to think that all Middle Easterners are brown people, but though those people, they're too low IQ to understand genetics, ethnologies, ethnic groups, and so on. And you don't even have to be a Vignat to
But like
believe
Christ
that.
is also, again, back to the line of David. David is depicted as having fair hair. So that's another thing. And royal lines also historically tend to be a bit whiter.
I've seen. Let me see more chat. So yeah, I want to move on from this because this is this shouldn't even be a debate. Like if you actually, I'm not gonna end that sentence. So they speak about race. Blah 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 blah. France defended Pachamama. I'm brown. It's just the lighting. He's right. What's the best response to orthodoxy's foreign / only for Russian / Greeks? Here's a good response. If you believe that, you're retarded. That's my response. I don't even think this should be an argument. You're straight up retarded if you actually believe that.
Okay, if someone brings that to you, tells them that that's the same kind of answer some of the church fathers probably heard from pagans.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the apostles probably heard from pagans.
So yeah, I'm sure the TLM traditional Latin Mass, Latin only church was very, very familiar to those Amazonians back in the day. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure they were like all those like Mexicans and stuff were like, yeah, man, that's familiar to me.
And again, I don't like. You're straight up stupid if you actually make that argument. I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. It's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. You can make the same argument for literally every single religion on earth. You can make the same argument. It's such a subhuman argument, man.
You could even do it for political views as well.
Yeah, it's a subhuman argument.
Oh, well, capitalism. Well, that's the white European man's thing.
Yeah. Oh, socialism. Socialism. Oh, that's a Jewish thing. Well, actually, in that case, that's kind of right. But that's
that's the idea of being that the church being, for example, Roman and Catholic is already contradictory. It's an oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that you need to have one focal point to be universal. That's not true. You look at the Holy Church. All the nations needs to be respected. That doesn't mean we're gonna import like American's flag from in Romania or Latin masses in Japan.
Imagine saying like Roman Catholicism, like imagine saying I'm black and I'm not gonna be Roman Catholic because I never had a black pope. It's a white man's religion. Like imagine like Roman Catholics will rightfully call that guy a retard, but yet they don't see the same like idiocy.
Well,
when
what's
they make
funny
this
is when
argument.
Roman Catholics make that argument, they'll then just turn straight around and say, "You should try out Eastern Rite Catholicism." It's like,
Yeah, become Eastern Rite Catholic even though it directly contradicts. Guess who has the video showcasing that they contradict me? Well, also Jay, but don't tell Jay I said this, but he copied my video. He didn't. I'm just kidding, but I have a 13-minute video where I deal with that about how Eastern Rite Uniatism basically contradicts Roman Catholicism. And I think it's so easy to see, but I've seen people deny that. I mean, how, like, why are you even trying,
I
my
had
man?
I had an ex-uniate send me some some facts, FAQs from his old Melkite church because some people were complaining about I think some Latin rites came in and were just complaining about how there was no filioque in the creed and how they were communing infants. They were, and they had to explain it
Yeah,
all and be
that's
like,
very funny.
actually, you're wrong. You're supposed to commune infants.
That's very funny because, Uniatism was supposed to be this like try at universality, but it doesn't work because if they're using universality, but they're importing things that are self-contradictory, and then they will tell you, "Oh, actually, this guy celebrated as a saint, but he's in hell. Don't worry, Rome said so." And at the end of the day, Uniatism is basically like a human zoo of liturgical rites. What's the point for anybody of having a like Catholic old believers like Russian
Yeah,
old
and
believers?
usually unless they have some kind of direct tradition or like pedigree from some Orthodox church, they look like you can actually just tell when it's an Eastern Rite Catholic church because it just looks kind of inauthentic as well. It's weird. It just kind of feels weird just looking at it, but sometimes they'll have some kind of direct pedigree or something where it's a lot less discernible. But yeah, this weird thing.
Mm-hmm. Faith Goldie, who I don't even know who she is, but was born Orthodox, but I know who she is. She's like this right-wing e-girl, I guess. Not
She's
really an
a right
e-girl, but an
wing,
e-girl.
like Gen X or something, like Catholic woman or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a fundamental or right winger, becoming Catholic is like the easiest way, like a modern right winger. Becoming Catholic is one of the easiest ways to do that. I feel like the right wing has become like very separated in that sense, which makes sense because there was huge debates, like religious debates, and people are wondering, should we consider pagan right wingers friends? Should we consider them foes? What should we think of these people? And people like Varg like dropped the ball crazy, and it kind of just shifted online right wing into a new direction to the point where if you're right wing, the proper way to baptize yourself into the right wing ideology is to become Roman Catholic. And
Well,
I
that is
don't
the
like that kind of
temptation.
thing.
That is the temptation as well. Is when I was becoming Orthodox, it was like I still had kind of political leanings, and it was tempting to become Catholic because of that. Because of my ancestors and my painting AVIs, like all the painting
My
AVIs.
but my pretty churches and my wise painting guys, I need to be Catholic. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
bad joke, but this is actually unironically why people convert to this religion.
Yeah,
And
they'll never
I
admit
don't
it,
mind
but
people
they'll never
convert
admit it.
to
But
Roman
yeah.
Catholicism. Yeah.
yeah. So
And
I
I
think
don't mind that they convert that, but at least let it be a good reason, please.
yeah, like it's more marketable. There's more name recognition. Um, it's also more associated with Western culture.
Culture, yeah.
Renaissance painting dicks on ceilings, stuff like this. Whereas the other faith will be Oriental and so on. And it's also good for victimization points because they use so they can at the same time claim we rule the world, we colonize people, and and we're universal and we're very, very old, but I'm not going to investigate the 2,000 years of tradition I'm claiming. And at the same time, the church is under attack. Satan is directly trying to influence us. So it's
yeah, it's weird. It's strange. It's like, yeah, you get the popularity,
It's
but you also get the
superstitious.
yeah.
It is
It's modern
it is a
superstition.
super tempting position to get, especially if you can get over the hump of caring about what your supreme head of the church is doing, because he is actually literally working against your agenda. As long as
Yeah.
you can kind of put him out of sight, out of mind, it's quite a
Oh, he
cozy.
doesn't
It's
exist.
quite a cozy worldview to have, to be honest.
Yeah, and it does have a community you can find. Like you can kind of easily find like Catholic communities that are like
Yeah.
up the alley. So it's like, I mean, when atheists say, "Oh, Christianity is just like community building," I mean, they're stupid for making that argument. But in this case, it is starting to become true. So, what does that make these people who convert to Catholicism for that reason? Worse than stupid people. I think that's what it makes them.
Let's face it, guys. We will all be pro YouTuber if we were Catholic. Simply because there's more viewers at this point. Like we will all be like.
If I
way
said the same thing, like if I was a Roman Catholic and I dedicated to refuting Oriental Orthodox, I will have so many subscribers, man. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I will actually have that.
You'd have a harder time making the arguments, though. I get the feeling.
Yeah, definitely. It will be a lot more difficult. That's true. Yeah.
You'd probably be debating the papacy more than you'd be debating anything else.
And I'd have to take the Fifth Ecumenical Council seriously, which Roman Catholics don't do that because they don't like that council for many different reasons, both theological and ecclesiological reasons. But they don't like that council at all. Even
Yeah,
at the time, they did.
Yeah, I've never heard a Roman Catholic talk about the Fifth Council. Kind of
No.
just ends after Chalcedon.
Well, they did. Hefele talks about it, and he does say good things about it, which is nice.
Hefele's high IQ, though.
Yeah, what's very funny is that there were claims of the Church of the first millennium to the extent that they will literally not know why, like the Coptic Church exists. Say, there's so many different Orthodox in the East. Like they literally forgot, and sometimes they will just go after Protestant. Like look at this. We're very old, and we've had that priest. There were priests very early on in church history, and then when they will not investigate, they will just say we're 2,000 years old and we existed before the Bible. But that's just just a talking point against Protestant. If you investigate this history, you will see that there was no universal, supreme, immediate jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a
These
talking
streams
point.
always turn into theology streams because people drive us in that direction.
Because that's what next episode we should make a stream on Chibi Robo, and I'll get my friends to talk about the wonders of playing Japanese visual novels. I'll definitely have an episode based on that. But until that day happens, we are going to be boring old men in suits talking about stuff that people said way before we were even born, and talking shit about people that are stupid. That's basically what the stream has become, which I don't mind. One day, actually, I'm not going to finish that thought, but I'm not seeing any chat activity. I thought I need to have more clout.
Yeah,
So
you
that
guys are
chat will become more
boring.
active.
Do something. I'm literally like poking chat with a stick. Do something. Come on.
Hey, do something. Say something. Say, I don't know, because like when you watch someone making a video, or no, like when you watch a live stream, even with 20 people, like you see chat like talking mad shit, and right,
Yeah, like,
and like
quite one
you see a
another.
Jay Dyer stream, and like the chat like it's a war. Like they don't even care about the video anymore. They're just going at each other. Here, when that will be welcome a little bit, that's not happening. So have a dedicated we should have a dedicated subject on Chibi Robo, and Speed running. That will actually be kind
Having
of
a
fun.
dedicated subject is like exactly the exact opposite of what this stream was originally intended for.
True.
Like the
true.
whole point of this stream was to have just talk about whatever we
Literally
are talking about in the
anything,
moment. Yeah.
Including this as well. So we're meta as heck
Including,
over
yeah, it's
here.
very meta, exactly.
Yeah. Then again, we get questions like this, and it's kind of simple. What I think about Pentecostals? Well, here's my opinion, and I'm willing. You guys can give your opinions. Here's my short opinion: they're retarded. End of story. That's my opinion.
If not demonic, but yeah.
I'm perhaps a bit more charitable.
Of course.
I think they have goodwill. I think they have a good heart and they have good intentions, but ultimately, yeah, this whole practice of quote unquote speaking in tongues is either fake, deluded, or demonic. It's one of the three. It could be all three. Could be just one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I'd say is keep away. Like
it's basically
that's not how the Holy Spirit manifests. When the Holy Spirit manifests in you, it causes you to be humble and to be, silent in reverence and humility. It doesn't cause you to just like start flailing around and yelling and that doesn't and blabbing and.
Have you ever seen like these videos are quite funny. It's very.
I've seen them. I've been. I used to get taken by my parents to churches back when they were searching, and I used to be in them, and it was just the most bizarre thing. I'm like, that's not real. You're just. And the thing is it's actually really bad because in some of those communities, it's like you're not actually a Christian because for them, right, being able to speak in tongues is like the baptism of the Spirit or whatever. So that's when you get, justified. That's when you get saving faith or whatever. And a lot of the kids are just like, and you can hear these stories, you can hear these testimonies online of kids who left Pentecostalism, and they're just like, yeah, I used to feel like I didn't know, I felt like I was an odd one out because I didn't, I wasn't speaking in tongues, and I was feeling like I was like not good enough or something like that. But and then I started just doing it one day. And then everyone started validating me, so I just kept doing it. Like,
a more important question than silly panties. What do you think of anime? Well, I think it's epic. I love it. But, well, then again, if you're gonna compare the worst of anime to the worst of Western shows, then anime, even then, it wins, I guess. But I like it. There's a lot of good stuff. I watch it. I'm a weeb, a proud weebster. That's who I am. And I guess that's only my thought matters on this. On the issue of speaking of tongues, what? On the issue of speaking of tongues, what do you think of Mark 16:9-20? It's the verse where Christ says, "Preach to all nations. You will speak in new tongues." That's the KJV version. But speaking in tongues just refers to speaking in different languages. Not like made up language, like that's that. Not that. Yeah, not that.
Like it's clearly a reversal of the curse of Babel. That's why glossolalia is.
Exactly.
And, yeah, it's bridging this gap. It's not starting to talk nonsense.
Yeah, and they'll appeal to when St. Paul says something like, "And even if I speak in the language of angels," but that's he's not saying that he will actually speak in the language of angels. He's using that rhetorically to make a certain point, namely that it doesn't matter if people can't understand what you're saying, then it doesn't matter what language you're speaking because it has to edify people. So he's not saying that, and like, man, just making those weird blabby noises, that's not the language of angels. That's not that's not what angels sound like. Come on.
Yeah, like basically, if you want a good,
how will they even know? By the way,
like how to pick
You
churches.
can't.
Avoids a gimmick churches. You know, the Pentecostals, the gimmick is speaking in tongues, and you've got like the Fatima gimmicks, and you've got like every other church has this huge gimmick, and that's bad because that just displays a lack of Catholicity in the sense of a lack of fullness of the truth. And the truth is something that is fully embraced by the church.
Mm-hmm. James Wagner. Wow, your surname is Nazi. You're a Nazi, Mr. Wagner. How would you guys recommend approaching nuns that show interest in New Age material? Church of the Eternal Logos has content on that, so you can check him out if you want. He has a lot of videos on New Age stuff. What are your guys' thoughts on Truth Be Told 7? He's literally mentally ill, so I'm not gonna say anything more than that. He's straight up mentally ill, and it's not
Yeah,
nice to
you
make fun
can
of the mentally
tell
ill.
as well. Like that's not you're
Yeah.
not just being mean, but I mean, if
Yeah.
you've spent any time around people who have like Asperger's or anything like that, then you'd know. You can tell.
He's a mentally ill guy betrayed by the world, and he just uses YouTube to jump around. And he knows Christianity is true, but what are you gonna do when you're mentally ill? You're not gonna be, even if you're Orthodox. I mean, you're just going to be misled. And
Well, I don't think he
That's
even
what
goes to
I'm
church.
I'd like-
So.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like a lot of people, like I don't think he's evil. Like I don't think he's a. I don't like. I insult people all the time. I will not insult him. Like he really is. There's really something wrong with him, and people like him. I don't think we're helping ourselves by like saying, "Oh, this guy's stupid. This guy's retarded." No, I only call like people with some form of mental function stupid. I'm not gonna. But on the point of truth be told, I mean, I remember researching for material against the fake Orthodox, right? The old calendars guys. And I saw his content and I watched it and I realized, this guy's not worth watching. It was the first impression I got. So I kind of like said, okay, whatever, I'll look for others because like he really made strange points. But yeah, I mean, it's like with Mr. Batman. Some people here might know him, Mr. Batman. The guy's literally brain damaged. I mean, he himself says it. He says I'm brain damaged, and he has a whole story about it. I don't remember the whole story, but like there's parts of your brains that is removed or something like that. And then people like dedicate their time making fun of this guy. Like, come on, you're stupid if you actually like think that's a cool. I'm not saying you are doing that. Like, I'm not saying that AAA. Like, I'm not saying that you're guilty of that. But many people are doing that. I don't see the point. I think that's evil. It's definitely sinful. I don't know what you guys think. Hello, am I the only one here?
No thoughts. No thoughts.
Am I in my own world? In the Barbie world?
Okay, like people would just do videos compulsively and
Literally. It's actually just a sign, isn't it? It's just a sign. It's like you're making these expose videos all the time.
Yeah, like
you have nothing better to do.
Luke Dolvin, oh shit! Remember that guy? Remember Luke
yeah,
Dolvin?
exactly. I'm thinking about this one.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know if I have better things to do. Like, I mean, this podcast is one of the few things that I kind of do that I just kind of like time sinks in a way. Like, I'm not increasing my IQ or anything by reading fathers, but if I have spare time, I'm either reading or, so I don't want to.
I'm reading.
Why would I be?
The
making
reader.
some stupid 7-minute expose video on someone? It's such a waste of time. I'm either doing some project, one of the many projects I'm working on, setting up debates like I was today with David, or so
I'll be debating Bill Gates. I'll be debating Bill Gates. So he was setting a debate with me and him. But yeah, Luke Dolvin, another example of a mentally ill guy that we shouldn't have taken seriously in the first place. The only reason why he even got views is because he just wrote J Dyer in the title, and like people clicked on it because that's a popular tag. That's how SEO works, bro. So that's why my video on Taylor Marshall is popular, because it has his name on it. That's why there are some videos that use my name on it that are popular because they use my name. Relatively popular compared to other videos they make. It reminds me of this. She's a nobody, but it reminds me of that mentally ill chick that like made compulsive videos recently. It's like these people exist. Like, ooh. To Pentecostal, like good. Good sources on the subject of prelest. Well, since I'm in prelest, I don't know, so I'm gonna defer to you guys.
Saint Ignatius Brianchaninov, I think he's called.
Brianchonov.
Yeah,
Brianchonov.
he's like the main, I think, one who's been.
Yeah, so that's for the theory, and for the practice, you just go to Timothy Flanders' channel and you
Yeah.
you get in practice.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's very
gosh.
true. That he's definitely in prelest.
Oh my
100%.
gosh.
Yeah. I became Catholic and I felt like my pride like just disappeared, bro. Like I just stopped being prideful because I could defer to the Pope. By the way, the Pope is bad and he's a heretic, but I could defer to the papacy, and my pride just ended.
I was in
About
liturgy
Pope
and
Francis is a heretic.
God told me that the schism was my fault.
Yeah.
That was
He said that. Yeah, that's true. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. What a retard. What a stupid person. What are you guys? By the way, Timothy Flanders literally was in a CIA university, and he said promoting ecumenism is one of my biggest passions, one of my biggest life goals. So
imagine
tell you
that
a lot
being
about
your
that.
life. Do you know what it's like? Do you know what I was just thinking? It's like
Destroying Christianity is my life goal.
ecumenism being one of your like greatest passions and life orientation. It's kind of like being a being a theologian, and that so being a theologian
those
and
were your only plans?
and ecumenism being your main favorite thing that you do for a living. It's kind of like being a doctor and then like doing sex change surgery being like the main the main thing you do. That's your greatest passion.
Yeah,
It's like, why
ecumenism
would
is
you
a
do
lot.
that? Why would you do that if you're a theologian? Like, why?
That's true. What do you guys think about the toll houses? What do you guys think? Well, here's one easy way for me to. This is it's a very bad argument. I'm not going to pretend as if it's a good argument, but when I see people who are for toll houses, I see saints, I see good people. When I see people against the toll houses, I see Fordhamites and I see retards. So that's usually a very good way to discern whether something is true or not. And I'm only half serious, but there is some legitimacy with that. And the topic of the toll houses, many people have a very like straw man view of that. I defer to Craig Truglia's stream with Father John Whiteford on toll houses and Father Cosmos's talk on toll houses. Those two talks should be good enough for you. What are you gonna say?
What do you mean by the literal sense? Like, what do you even mean by that? I mean,
The straw man.
oh, you mean? Do you mean the straw man? Do you mean like my soul just kind of like at X moment in time comes across wooden toll house Z, where I'm tested for Y sin by two demons at the same time, and then I move up. After 10 minutes, then I'm up in toll house C, and then no, like I mean, come on, let's not be ridiculous.
Yeah, most of the anti-toll house arguments are mega straw man.
They
I
actually
noticed
are
that.
garbage. I found toll house language in St. Basil's homily on baptism.
Yeah.
I can read it if you want. I found it.
It's even in scripture.
Like it is present to a sense. I was reading the Psalms in French. I'll have to check the translation again, but like things clearly allude to it. And even if not in in a literal sense, you've got this idea of, yourself being weighted down by your sins and lifted up by grace and by your good deeds. So,
And mhm.
yeah. So anyway, a lot of the arguments against it are huge straw men. It's also against people who have like a huge problem with Father self-immersion because of some of his other statements. And I mean, we are talking about Bible Illustrated, and like he's got an axe to grind against stuff like this. Every time he cannot do a video without dunking on Father Seraphim Rose, and you've got a lot of obsessive. Anti-Toll House is obsessive. That's what I noticed. Well, you have
So yeah,
mentioned.
And
Saint Basil's homily on baptism, chapter 4. Just go read chapter 4, or read the whole thing. But I mean, it's in chapter 4, and it's not even an unreasonable. I mean, we spend our whole lives daily being tempted and accused by demons, and helped by our guardian angel every day on earth. So why would it be any different when our soul is making its kind of trajectory into the next life? Like just
Yes.
because we're disembodied, why would those temptations and spiritual battles just suddenly stop? Like,
Yeah, and you've got the idea, for example, the idea of the ladder of divine ascent, and it's very similar. And of course, the ladder of divine ascent talks about things during your life, but it's also linked to the ladder of Jacob. And how can we completely segregate this life from the ascent of the soul during the next life? Like literally, this life is about planning this ascent. This
Mhm.
life is all about preparing for it. So I don't think we can divorce it in a strict sense, and I don't think that we should understand Tolhouses in the most literal sense. But there's clearly something.
Yeah, I have a friend on Twitter that makes a good point, and he says this is not an argument. This is more of like observational claim. Is many people that oppose toll houses oppose it because it affirms the existence of demons, and I can definitely see why Bible Illustrated will be
and
against that.
because one of the toll houses is for a particular sin that's sodomy.
Oh, yeah, dome, yeah, domi. So that's true. Yeah, so many universalists definitely hate that idea. Of course, it affirms the existence of demons. It affirms all of the stuff that these people want to pretend that doesn't exist. I'm not saying all of them are against it because, but again, if you want like long videos on that topic, I defer to you to Craig Truly and Father Cosmos. They're both on YouTube. They both have long videos talking about that stuff. They're much better than I am or we are on this topic. So they have scriptural proofs. They have patristic proofs on the existence of toll houses. And another thing I want to finalize before I move on is with the toll houses, there's not this idea of demons judging whether you go to heaven or hell. The demons accuse you of you committing sins. It's more so, it's less of a jury court. It's not this like jury where like the demons are part of like the like this part of the judge team. That's not what's going on. Otherwise, even saintly people will be going to hell in that logic. And toll house proponents definitely don't believe that, and it definitely don't believe in that logical conclusion. So anyway, there's a common phenomenon of dissident right-wingers like Owen Benjamin, Vox Gay, Queer Anon. They're explicitly anti-Trinitarian. Yeah, because anti-Trinitarianism appeals to retards. That's why. It's kind of as simple as that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
being
to me.
someone who's actually in the field in terms of answering questions and having to deal with objections and stuff, being a Trinitarian requires like an IQ that's somewhat maybe above 120 or so. So that's why these people are anti-Trinitarian.
You know, that's kind of true. But there's definitely a lot more different reasons. But I think really a lot of anti-Trinitarian arguments are just genuinely stupid. Like Vox Gay's arguments are really bad. He just
Look, I
finds
need
something.
I need to shill. I need to shill. Sorry, I need to shill. Go to Orthodox Shahada. I did
Yes.
2-3 hour streams with Dr. Bo Branson on the Trinity, and if you watch
He's
those,
right, you know.
it will actually just all fall into place. It's actually really simple when you
Exactly.
think about it. The way Nissa
Think
and the
about it.
Cappadocians defend it, it's actually really, really. Well, it's a little bit complex in places, but it's quite. It's completely. It makes perfect sense. Christology is more complicated, I think, than Trinitarianism just in itself.
Thank you. That's a very nice compliment to me.
Yeah,
Snake, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think that these people become Unitarians because they want to worship other gods. Let me explain. The main thing with Christianity is that in its system, being like, monotheism in a Trinitarian sense, in a strong Trinitarian sense, you cannot include it in other dogma. But if you go to Unitarianism, you can go to any sort of weird mysticism. You can even mishmash with Islam or Buddhism or Judaism or whatever you want. So I think these people, they are fun. Isn't Vox Day the guy who does like alien things? Or that's another one. But I think like all these guys have borderline beliefs that they want to integrate into a system that they believe is Western. So is a default to Christianity. They make a Christianity that's able to tolerate the insertion of new beliefs, and that's why Unitarianism is so important for them, because it allows them to go to some sort of generic deism.
Yeah, because I mean, as soon as you start denying Trinitarianism, you're going to fall into generic deism. Because even the personal appellations of God in the Bible, like God being Father, if there's no eternal Son, then there's no eternal Father. So God isn't
Yes.
always Father, and then what is He? Well, He's just generic divinity. So. Yeah, I mean, like, if as soon as you fall into the Unitarianism trap, you're just gonna end up having generic, first essence.
Exactly. And that's one of the problems Tertullian had in his triadology, is that he kind of denied eternal fatherhood in that sense, even though he didn't want to do that. That's one of the mistakes that he did. So that's an important point, that the concept of God being Father is tied into this doctrine. So, yeah, good Orthodox channel, by the way. Good Orthodox channel. Who? Me? If so, thank you. But it says he has some debates on reason and theology. Oh, Craig Trulia. Yeah. Any
I'm not.
thoughts on this hit?
Actually, no, I'm not gonna say anything. No, don't worry, don't worry. I changed my mind. I probably shouldn't say anything.
Oh, you're gonna talk shit about someone. I see. Any thoughts on this hit piece that gay defrocked priest who runs Orthodoxy in Dialogue ran on Church of the Eternal Logos? Yeah, that guy's a sodomite heretic, and if he keeps his act up, where he's going is very obvious. I don't want to say that, but that guy's a subversive. Screw that guy.
I'm
He's
not.
Giacomo San Filippi something.
Yeah, that's a whole load of nonsense. But Logos needs to dial it down.
Yeah. But I'd rather side with him over Giacomo San Fagitulo.
Oh yeah, I'll side with him over
100%.
that
Every
but,
day. Yeah.
He needs to. Yeah, no, it's not. It's.
Yeah, like we cannot like say people needs to be cancelled or stuff like this, but that doesn't mean no limit.
Like, I'd rather have he says he doesn't unironically, like, I don't remember what he said, but I'd rather have like an unironic, like, Confederate pro-slavery guy on my team rather than someone like the Orthodox in Dialogue dude. I'd rather have them on my team because they don't promote sodomy. They don't promote stuff like that. I don't want that. And oh, I missed the chat. Did you guys read the requirements he lists? Well, who? I don't know who. Southern Israelite. That's another guy that's mentally ill. Yes, another one of those crazies. Thomas Jackson. Gotta love the Origins Universalist point of toll houses for why differing opinions are completely okay with the North. Yeah, I don't even think toll houses is theologumenal. I don't even think it's theologumenal. I think it's dogmatic. I think if you think it's theologumenal, I think you're kidding yourself if you believe it's theologumenal because it's in the liturgy. And if it's in the liturgy, and it has been in the liturgy for centuries, it's very difficult to argue that it's theologumenal. That's my point. That's what I think. I think people are calling it theologumenal because they want to be, I don't know, like, I guess they want to be nice, but nah. I think it's dogmatic. All right, I'll move on. Wow, looking at the comments. Vox Gay is very political, so not affirming the Trinity is ecumenical and absolute builds correlations. I noticed with Vox Gay, he he emphasized on being this alpha masculine guy, and like if he wants to pretend that he is one, that's fine. I don't care, but when he says nonsense about Christianity, and then he says, "Oh, I'm not gonna debate. This is just my opinion." That's worse than Omega, dude. Like, you're basically trying to push an opinion, push a view, and then you're trying to say, "Well, by the way, don't attack me. If you attack me, you're beta. If you attack my views, you're beta because I'm not taking this seriously. But I take this seriously enough to push it forward." I mean, so there's so many people that do this, and to them, and they're worse than Omegas. They're like on the lowest totem pole in all men, male groups. That's what I think usually. And you sent them to my Twitter. All right, man, you guys are awfully quiet. You there, Snack?
Yeah, we're just waiting for more whatever things to be picked up.
Better thing. Here's one. Have fun, guys. I think he wants a refutation of modalism from a philosophical, theological standpoint. Hello?
Yeah, I mean, I would just point to the scriptures, all the scriptural passages that clearly show that they're two distinct persons communicating with each other.
For example,
and there's loads of those.
Yeah, when the Son prays the Father, he pray himself. When they signify differently, for example, when Paul says that there is one God and one Lord, one God being the Father, one Lord being Christ. So they're given different titles. You've got the baptism of Christ, where you have the three hypostasis interacting with one another at the same time, and yeah.
It completely ruins the whole concept of what a father-son relationship is. Like, what even is fatherhood and sonship in the modalist scheme? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. In regards to, the scripturally modalism is inconsistent. I think it's very obviously inconsistent. The Garden of Gethsemane is a good example of that.
Yeah, that's one of the
Christ
clearest.
says, let this cup pass away from me. It kind of promotes this schizophrenic God kind of view, and you definitely don't want that if you want to be a modalist. Another one, and with modalism, it has a ADS presupposition because distinctions imply separation, distinction of persons implies separation kind of thing. So I think modalism is part of ADS, and basically modalism is ADS, and ADS is wrong because of XYZ, multiple different reasons. If modalism is true, then ADS is true, absolute divine simplicity. If absolute divine simplicity is true, well, then creation has to be eternal, and God does not have free will because he did not freely create. One of the more, I think Jay basically hammers this objection home, but if you want a crash course of that, basically, if all things, if there's no distinctions in God between even the attributes, when God creates the world, he has to be eternally creator. He can't be creator starting from one point of time, because that will imply that God changed. If God is eternally creator, and creation has to be eternal, and if creation is eternal, God did not freely create, so on and so forth.
And there's that old atheist meme, which actually suddenly becomes really pertinent. That one where it's like, God sends himself into creation to sacrifice himself to himself to forgive humanity for, like, do you see how it kind of gets a bit absurd? I mean,
yeah. The low IQ atheist meme actually refutes modalism.
yeah, it does. The low IQ atheist
about
meme
it.
does. Yeah, it does.
What are your thoughts on Alexander Schmemann? I don't know much about him. Do you guys know?
Didn't really know.
I've heard he's got some kind of renovationist takes, but I mean, just as usual, just
I know that
hopefully you have enough knowledge to pick out the good and leave the bad. But if you don't, then just avoid it if it's suspect.
Yeah, I don't read him, so I don't know him. Varg conflates all Christianity with Protestantism and Catholicism. Well, he has to. Oh yeah, this is like, just says the Father is greater than him, and that he comes from the Father. No one is greater than themselves in any sense. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Does that mean that Jesus is saying, "I'm greater than myself"? If modalism is true, that will be that's actually a good point. Yeah. Now I'm also going to be like, oh, but Jesus says the Father is greater than I am, so that means Trinitarianism is wrong, which is a subhuman objection, straight up. Oh no. Can Snake talk about the French RC to Orthodox Church?
Oh,
Bro,
yeah.
Snake's whole project is that. His whole existence is that.
No, like we've been having some discussion on the Discord, and we've been talking to people, and we've managed to reach directly and indirectly some people, including a priest, a priest, and now we've people from his parish came to us and explained the whole thing. So we I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still ongoing. So please pray for them. But yes, there's an entire parish that's converting.
Wait, is he? Oh, Google conditions for citizens. Oh, I'm not gonna Google that. I don't care. Modalism reminds me of how Hindu gods will approach humanity with different avatars, but having the same source. Yeah, that's true. There's similarity there, but you don't see people claiming modalism is Hindu. Actually, probably have. I don't know. It's too low IQ for me to care. Isn't it odd?
It also,
how
actually,
JF,
now I think about it, it also completely ruins image theology. Like, how can you say a thing is an image of itself? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, saying the Son is the exact image of the Father. Like, it's something that just doesn't really make sense. Like, I'm an image of myself. It's like, okay. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't really make sense either. Now I think about it. Is David dead? Are you there, Snake?
Yeah.
This is David's actually just dead.
All
right.
We're taking over. This is Mike Salon. This is Snake, the real French white. Yeah,
I removed him. If he starts moving again, I'll I'll add him back.
I mean, it's been like 2 hours already.
Yeah, no, we should probably end it right here. For some reason, he believed that the guy who, okay, blah blah, blah blah.
All right, I'm
He's
back.
back.
Okay, my internet connection died, so I'm on my phone Wi-Fi. Whatever you said, I agree. Did you finish your point, right?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Isn't it odd how JF is still on YouTube and Stefan Molyneux gets kicked right off when Stefan starts seeming like he's considering? Yeah, that's actually a decent point. It's actually
That's a good point.
that is a good point.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Why is JF is still on YouTube? I thought he got banned, but
Yeah,
is he
that's
still
true.
on YouTube?
Like they're both about like IQ and stuff, and yeah, that's the only difference. Like that's virtually the only difference between.
Man, YouTube. This is my petition to YouTube. YouTube, give us Stefan Molyneux. You can take JF. You can take JF. You can have him. Just give us Stefan back. And maybe the censors can't understand what JF is saying. Maybe that's why my YouTube channel is still up, because no one can understand what I say, because I got freaky accent-ish.
That's a reasonable theory, to be fair.
That is that.
It's not
He's
even
right, you know.
That's not even an unreasonable theory.
He's right, you
I
know.
mean, his accent is bad, and I'm French, so yeah, we didn't send our best to Quebec. Let's face it.
Well, I'm on mobile data, so I don't think I can stay on for too much unless I'm.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna
just call
decide
it.
to-
Let's just call it here. We're over 2 hours anyway.
Yes, I think we're done. That was a good stream. Next time we should definitely talk about more fun stuff, because theology is making me want to vomit. Because I have to do so much of it.
It's my fault. I advertised it as like, come ask your question about orthodoxy. So yeah, probably people came to ask question about orthodoxy. So yeah.
We will just, like as usual, just if that becomes it, which invariably does every stream, it does. That will be that. So you kind of have the first half of the stream is talking about random garbage, and then the second half is talking about theology pretty much consistently every time. So
yeah, perhaps. I think I'll also, for the viewers for the people that are watching this right now, I will most likely, I'm not gonna make promises, but I will most likely upload a video real soon. This is gonna be next part of the History of Christian Theology series. I've been working on this video for like 2 weeks now. But it's gonna be real good. So prepare yourself for that. In 2 or 3 days, I'll probably get it done. And as I said, it's gonna be amazing. So shill that video when you see it. And that's it. Yeah. So thank you all for listening to us ramble. And thank you for paying me money on Patreon. You know, I have a Patreon. You can be my pay piggy. So pay me money. You can subscribe to my channel, and you can shill my video and my channel to different people. If you do that, then I'll just say thank you, but maybe you don't care. Anyways, thank you all for watching this. I'll see you guys in the next video, or perhaps even stream. God be with you all.